Hello everyone, my name is Goteti. I'm here to present the lab 5, the final lab video presentation, and I am presenting on advanced data management subject. So let's go ahead and see the presentation which I've created. And I would like to present on the data set which has been assigned to me. I would like to give a brief introduction regarding it, and then let's see the presentation. So I'm opening my presentation. So this is the final presentation which has been presented by me, Mr. Srinivasa Goteti. So hello everyone, please welcome. So I would like to start with an agenda and provide what is the basic inference of the data set which I have taken, and after that I would like to uh, provide a clear-cut information regarding what kind of methods have I taken in implementing and providing a best suggestion. And once you get to a appropriate method, by using appropriate method and getting a detailed explanation on it, I can provide you the architectural decision which I've taken in it and diagrammatical display endpoint. Before starting all these, the endpoint of any business endpoint of any data is we should be able to take some business decision. It should have some value, but it is not mandatory that by retrieving all the data we would not have a mandatory solution at all the times, but we have to go to at least a close endpoint where we can have at least a clue that okay, there is nothing which we can do more. That is how the data should be managed. And I would also like to see what kind of replication methods I would like to use, and how would I like to store the data. That would really help to increase the performance and also to reduce the cost which has been kept on saving the data, and having multiple data will also really help to maintain proper replica and be able to access in multiple location and make the data be retrieved as fast as possible, because there should not be any kind of packet problem while retrieving the data which will decrease the performance of the data. So let's go ahead into the overview of my data set. Here is the overview of my data set. My data set is being provided with the name of Westline virus. There is a virus which is going on in and around some of the places which has been provided in my data set with the latitude, longitude, and the location. So what kind of mosquitoes, what kind of species of mosquitoes are the primary criteria, and what kind of results are they fetching? So the primary node or the primary thing for my data set is what kind of result is it creating. So that is the primary thing. End result is the very important thing, based on which we can categorize my data set. I categorize my data set into in this way, that keeping the result in constraint, I can see how many types of viruses is it attacking, and what best I can do for you know uh, providing a business decision. As I've told you earlier, endpoint is always for a business owner or a CAO is to take a decision of after doing a review of the content. So let's go ahead and look at my data set which has been assigned. Oh wow, this is so big number. Yeah, true. Let me see this in much more clear fashion. Here is my data set. You can see my data set is consisting of season, year, week, test ID, block, trap type, test data, number of mosquitoes, result, species, latitude, longitude, and location. I would like to categorize my data set in this way. If you can see, the season, year, and week can be calculated is in this particular time frame. In this week, these kind of similar things can be are happening. This is how we can I would like to categorize my data set, and I would like to categorize it in four ways: season, year, and week as one category, test ID, test date, trap type can be categorized into one other category. As using a distributed database system as a logic or as a backend thing, we can create subcategories to a category, and we can have more tables and more fields can be added to it. Even in future, if there is some additional field or a suggestion came from any person or anybody, then we would be able to add it in between and ensure that the data is not corrupted, or the data is not having much more additional values which is corrupting in resulting what we are looking at. The third type is, you can see, latitude, longitude, location, and test. uh, you can see block. These are the four things I would like to add in a category. Number of mosquitoes, results, and species. What kind of species and what result, and how many mosquitoes are been involved in doing this. So by this you understand that I would like to I'm making the data set. Just by looking at it, I can categorize into four things, and as on we go we can subcategorize it and ensure that we are having a very good idea on the data set. And even in future, if you would like to subcategorize into many fields, like creating a replicas, and if we can subcategorize it so that we can have much more clear vision in suggesting. So let's go ahead and see the next slides. Okay, as I've explained, the data set can be characterized. What type of tests are being taken? As I've told you, in this category, four things are being added: when it has happened, year, season, year, and week, and where it has happened, location, latitude, longitude, and the type. And results is the three things which would get added. Let's go ahead and see what methods I have learned in advanced data management, and what am I suggesting for this data set which I've learned, which I'm working on. The first one is relational database management system. This database management system is specifically for small databases, where it will provide a relation, and the relation is a main thing which will help to give a good query and ensure that we can get a required resolution. But however, relational database is not used for big data or cloud kind of data, because it is so highly cost, and it is not a performance oriented, as because there might be a chance of packet loss, and at that time we cannot request for a new vision in middle of the project, which is not a right solution which I think of using a relational. And working with XML is having an extensible the markup which will create multiple visions. If you understand multiple visions in one category, if you would like to add more subcategories, then it is very difficult to understand what does one node means to other. And the key store value, every node will have a separate key, and at the time of creating a replicas, everything will get add adjacent nodes, where if there is a new SQL kind of environment, in that time the key value store will create a problem in fetching the results. But my suggestion to this is to work, as relational is a subject oriented, I would suggest to go with an object oriented type of programming and the database structure, which will help in doing a good data mining for the data set which we are having, and as well as it would be really helpful for pointing out what exactly are we looking out for. Is it for a result, or is it for a business decision? It would cover all the regions if you would have an object oriented. And having a graph type extensible record store, then it can add additional thing even in the middle of the project, and the graph would specifically look in all the regions what are the nearest node. Like for example, if the test is happening in a particular location, what all are nearby in that particular location can be identified, and that would really help to fetch the required results, and take a good business decision by using a graph node structure. And I will provide you the URLs which I have chosen at the end of the presentation. This is the basic category which I made by using Microsoft Visual Studio, and you can see it here, the categories which I've mentioned. Endpoint is the direct association is with the results, and these are the business decisions which can be taken in this. As I've told you, this is the graph is the preferred method which I'm suggesting by using an object oriented programming, which will help to increase the performance and decrease the cost. Example, I have taken how many tests were been conducted in 2011 and these many only 12 nodes came in, but these are very scattered. So this is how we can point out that in this year how many things have happened, and in that how can we categorize the best nearest nodes. So these are the nearest nodes where the test is providing, but after this we would be having that we can add many adjacent nodes, like the location and then what kind of result it happens, then it would easily point out that okay, this is the at this year at the this location, these are the common results which are happening, which helps us to have a graphical representation of the annotation which is happening in the data set. This is an example which I'm providing. Distributed architecture proposed. In the distributed architecture should be identified in such a way that it can increase the performance and the cost should be very much reduced. And I am going with horizontal and vertical fragmentation, as because horizontal and vertical is having a logic that it will fetch the information not only in the horizontal format, but also it will store the information and fetch the information from horizontal and vertical, which will increase the performance, which is a right way of doing, because rather doing only on vertical or only on horizontal, use both things, which will really help, which might be cost increasing, but the performance is really high without having any kind of data packet loss. The fragmentation, in fragmentation I'm using a specific allocation. What kind of fragmentation I can do? I can, as I'm categorizing the information, even if there is some additional fields or any suggestion, I'm going with a specific allocation that okay, this can go and store in this particular table and I can fetch it by using single query or dual query. By using joins I can, once I data mine it, I can using by using joins in SQL or any other database. Without SQL also we can use these kind of fragmentations by using a specific allocation as an ideology which I would like to use for this particular data set. Replication is the replication. In terms of replication, I would like to use master slave, because a double copy would be saved, and that is really helpful to have good data security which can be increased, uh, where as it would be stored in an IT format, it will have multiple access, like varied access and multiple access towards the same data, and which is really helpful to increase the cost, to increase the performance and decrease the cost. And the graph method which I've suggested earlier would make to fetch the required results and point out the required thing as per our constraint or our requirement, which will help to take a good business decisions. And if per suppose this is used for an government organization, then the government would be able to take send more human resource at the particular location and ensure at this time we would not be having any kind of virus to happen, and we can make a good business decision on this. This is the UML diagram representation. So now we would be going at the enum, which is called the business decision. This is how I would like to be specific on the location, and even if there is a multiple table, then that can be categorized in the results. And we can categorize the type of tests which are being taken specifically on the species. So that will really help to categorize, like okay, this species is creating this kind of results continuously at this week. So this is one of the decision which will automatically happen here. Example, like typical results. Let's see the business decisions now. Typical results in the same year, locational results based on the year, central point of results. What is the main key point can be understand by the results, and how many mosquitoes are being involved. It would be automatic gradually increasing or decreasing. How many nodes are nearby can be identified as per the constraint we are looking at. Example, I'm providing some business decisions which can be taken, and there are many more which I was continuously repeating in one or the other slide while I was speaking in the video. Here are the URLs which I have used, and the software which I was working. I'll update the YouTube URL once the video is completed. Thank you very much for having your time. Thank you. If there are any questions, please post.